questions in the lab that you're gonna go over. So, show of hands. Show of hands. Means the same thing, right? Just believe me, it does. VPN.CIS department.csu.pomona.edu 134.71.3.16. Okay? There's no right answer. There's no wrong answer. Okay? There's just the honest answer. Show of hands. Who thinks this is easier to remember than this? $18. Okay. Who thinks this is easier to remember than this? You guys are the true network engineers in the room. Okay? I'm sorry. I can remember this a whole heck of a lot easier than I can remember this. Don't ask me why. I just can't. Okay? Probably because I've been working on IP addresses way longer before DNS existed. Alright? But they mean the same thing. What this is for, especially for those of you who are in 471, this is your gateway to your project environment that I'm building, that we're going to start on here. I've been promising that we're going to start on for like 2 weeks. Huh?
That IP we've been waiting on?
Yeah. Well, this is it. Alright? I'm setting up the VPN tonight. So, this is what it looks like when you log into a ASA. All right. Now, and this goes for you especially for your senior project. A lot of times, one of the things that I really kind of emphasize later on in 467 is VPNs. VPNs are probably one of the hardest things to learn in network security. All right, and different practitioners or different manufacturers, I should say, stylize their VPNs in different ways. But VPNs all have the same core makeup. They have a layer 2 component, they have a layer 3 component, they have an encryption component, and then they have some sort of access rights component. Okay? Layer 2 is going to be a certain type of authentication protocol. Layer 3 is going to be networking and some sort of other IP layer 3 encryption apparatus, like IPsec or AES, something of that nature. You have your tunneling component, which leverages that and encrypts the information between the two endpoints. And then you have some form of access. So once I get VPN'd into wherever I'm going, what do I have access to? Okay? So, to look at this from a configuration standpoint, and I've only configured one interface on this thus far. Let me just do this real quick. as you can see, I have network objects that I define, okay, which are subnets. I have an access list, which is going to permit to a certain address range. I have a DHCP pool. Okay, I have a NAT statement for my users that are VPNing in. I have a routing statement. Okay. And then I go into all my crypto. There's my IKE, my transform set, all of the different types of encryption mechanisms that I will recognize. I have a dynamic map, system default that points to those transform sets and allows reverse access back outside. I have a crypto policy that points to that IKE policy, defines it as triple DES, layer 2 hash of SHA, sets a lifetime on it. Then I have a group policy, or the group that I'm going to allow in. In this case, the group name is CIS 471. I have those split tunnels set up and pointed back to those access that access control list for the split tunnel policy. All right. Now, as you can see, that is a lot of code to try to remember how to do and write and everything else. Okay. Now, show you one other thing. Here is where I suggest that you enable the ASA GUI called the ASDM, the ASA Device Manager. You have to tell it where the software is, that's that command, ASDM image, where it is in the flash of the ASA. Now if you did this on an ASA in GNS3, there's like 5 or 6 other steps that you got to do in GNS3 itself. We'll talk about that later on down the road. But if you're working on actual equipment, that's the first step. You have to have this in the flash in order for it to work. You do have one in the flash at video. Okay. It's good to enable the ASDM history. And then you have to enable the HTTP engine. Now, I don't suggest you do this, but for the fact that I'm not behind this ASA, I'm in front of this ASA administrating it, and I have like 2 or 3 other firewalls ahead of it. I enabled HTTP on the outside interface, all right, and I brought up the HTTP server. Okay? Justin, you'd never do this for CCDC. This is like big no.
Why would that be a big no?
Huh?
Why would that be a big no?
Because you typically would want to VPN into the environment, set this up on the inside, and then bring up the ASDM from the inside. Why I did it this way is I had to bring it up from the outside in the first place.
Okay. Correct me if I'm wrong here. This might just be. This is probably just a lack of knowledge right here, but a VPN, it basically, on my understanding, it basically just encrypts your entire system, right?
Yeah.
That's it?
Yeah. For the most part, you are right. Okay.
That's the reason the routing is hidden, if you want internet
Alright.
access.
You need to also have a user name and password set up on the ASA. Alright, see here I have a user called test1. I have my username. And that's that. A lot to remember, right? Okay, for giggles. For giggles. To get the ASDM software, once you do these steps and you enable it and you set it all up, you can then open up a browser. And go to that URL, or just 134.71.3.16. I like it also better because it's easier to type. And that page will come up. Alright? So, I can run it as a Java web applet, or I can download, I can click this. It'll ask me for my username and password, which I'll give it to it, and it'll prompt me to save the file. I save the file, I install it like any other program. I'm going to skip to the chase here.
What's the updated resolution?
Right there.
Oh,
Okay? And the launcher will come up. Alright? Now, for you folks in 471, we're going to set up your own username and password here tonight for this. That you can, yeah, I gotta put some content in there still. I gotta link it over to, well, it's almost ready, I'll put it that way. I got the networking piece done, but I still can't get to Hermes, which is my VMware server. And once you log in, you'll come to the GUI that you can configure everything. Now, if you go over to the configuration tab, here's where you set up, your interfaces. You give them IP addresses. You set their security levels. You can set up your firewall access rules, your ACLs. Okay, yada yada yada. But like I showed you everything that went into the VPN, right? That looked like a lot of work, a lot of memorization, everything else. You have a wizard, and this goes for site-to-site VPNs, remote access VPNs, everything. VPN wizards, site-to-site, AnyConnect, which is a like a web applet VPN. Clientless SSL VPN wizard, but you have to have an SSL certificate set up in the firewall, which you have to either create or get from certification authority. Or what I did was the IPsec IKE v1 remote access VPN wizard.
Living a client to site.
Yeah. You go through this very intuitive wizard, right? I could do this either via Cisco VPN client, which I know the best, or I could even have set it up with a Microsoft Windows client using L2TP.
Out of curiosity, could you stuff in GSM.
GNS? Yeah, but you have to have, the problem with it is GNS3 doesn't recognize flash and all these things are in flash. So you have to go through and you have to set up your flash and slice off some of your RAM in order to act as flash, and it's a little convoluted.
So let's say
It can be done, I've seen it done, and it's really time consuming.
Is it more of a pain of anything else? So let's say I did want to set up all between two routers. Can I just do all this stuff right here? Or?
Create one of these in VDL.
He's gonna work on that.
Oh, he's going to be set
His team is. Okay, and you already have the software in your ASA.
Do we have an ASA?
Yes.
Yeah, you have two. We have two, right? Oh.
That's the switches you're thinking of.
Oh.
You're thinking the layer 3 switches.
Okay, you can create your certificate here if you so wish. You have to give it a tunnel group name. Okay, now you can set up authentication with the local database, or you can use a AAA server. We're just going to keep this local. So as you can see here, I have a couple of users already. I can create more users here at the same time, or I can do this later as well. It's not that big of a deal. I can select what DHCP pool I want them to use, or I can create a new one. If I create a new one, I give it all these other pertinent information, including DNS or WINS or anything else like that. I select my encryption methodology, triple DES, AES, how much I want to do this. I just went with the basic ones here for now. I select which interface the tunnel is going to terminate on. So typically for client VPNs, they're going to terminate on the outside. And here's where it gets a little tricky. We talk about exempt networks, which you typically want to leave blank, all right, to expose the entire network before the most secure interface. If you leave it like this, you'll get access to everything behind the firewall. Everything behind the firewall. But your internet won't work on your machine when you VPN in. It just won't. That's what that other checkbox is. So you enable split tunneling. But if you enable split tunneling, you have to define what networks you want to be able to go to on the inside in order for you to be able to use your internet connection. All right. Basically, the VPN client will act as a little router inside of your machine in order for you to tell traffic which way to go. Am I going to go through the VPN? Am I going to go out the internet? Which direction am I going?
You can define all that.
Where you define it right here.
So in this case, the exempt networks, if you have the split tunneling checked, the exempt networks are what would go through the VPN?
Right.
Okay.
Right. So in this case, probably my inside network. Okay. So I'd hit that, click OK, click Next. It gives you a breakdown of everything, and then you click Finish. A lot easier than figuring out, oh, what do I have to type? Did I get everything right? Okay, it just creates everything for you.
It's basically like automating the accesses almost.
Yes.
I'm wasting David's time for 2 weeks. He's had David going through learning in the router how to do this.
You know, I learned that way too, and setting up your peers, and setting up your crypto, and setting up your policy maps. It's programming at its best. It really is. All right, but you want to do all that pain? I've done all that pain. I know how to do it. I know how to do this.
I've got drugged along with him, so no, I don't want to.
Well, it seems if he has really a passage or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay?
That's really nothing better for you
There's
guys
about
to do.
5 commands you gotta write down that you gotta do to enable this. Okay? And you're set.
This is the form, that is for 2 weeks.
So if I exit out, I won't do it. Now, but the problem is, you have to have a client to use an IKE Internet Key Exchange VPN. So we come back to where in the world do I get a client?
Your webpage.
My web page. And this is nothing new. Cisco gives this away free. It's just faster and easier to get it off of my web page. It is
VPN.
under VPN. Okay. And I have 2. For those of you who still want to use old school 32-bit, it's this one. This one's obviously 64-bit. For those of you who are really hardcore and want to use a VPN client, Cisco VPN client in Linux, you need to have some further instructions on that. Look it up. Save that MSI file. When you find that MSI file.
Doing some outlooks, just out of curiosity. Professor,
What?
method of doing just roll overhead.
No, it's just that you can do it in Linux.
It works in Linux.
Okay. Unzip that.
You installed already.
I must have installed it earlier. Whoops. There we go. Whoops. I thought I hadn't done that yet. Okay. Oh, okay. So, once I do that, I then need to create a profile for this network. So, I'll click New. Connection entry. CIS 471. Description, VPN to Cal Poly.
Now this is different than the VPN Cal Poly has.
Correct. Now the thing with this is you have to be VPN'd into Cal Poly in order to VPN into this.
Okay.
So you're gonna double tunnel.
Or if you're on campus and you skip the first VPN.
Yes.
It's basically the whole thing.
So group name, CIS 471. Password, CIS 471. All capitals. CIS. I tried not to really make this hard. Okay. I did not pick transport or anything. That should just work.
No.
He's also hardwiring into
And I am in. Okay.
CIS 471 caps for the password.
Now if I come here and I look at my, there you can see my VPN's connected. If I come here and I look at statistics, right? You see my tunnel details. It has given me an IP address of 172.16.0.51 out of that pool. Okay. If I look at my route details, that's the network that I'm able to get to. Which clue in, when you get your first, for you guys at 471, this is the network you're going to scan. Alright? So that's what I can touch. Because I'm split tunnel. to review split tunneling. Alright. I have my laptop. Going up here to the cloud. I'm coming in somewhere, I'm landing on my ASA's outside interface, which is the 134.71.3.16. Then I have this 172.16.0.0/24 LAN. This is where I'm going to plant my VMs. Okay, so I have a VPN tunnel that's terminating here, and I'm getting 172.16.0.51 as my IP on my VPN. Okay? Everybody understand that? Kosher? Cool. Now, if I were to go to CNN.com, Cisco.com, ABC.com, whatever, I would not come through here. I would just go wherever that is in the internet and come back. Okay? If I did not set up split tunneling, this tunnel would come up, and 9 times out of 10, unless I had some funky hairpinning routing going on here, I'm not going to get to the network, the internet. It's going to just be dead. So if you ever come across a network that you're working on, you're troubleshooting, all right, you have to remote access to, if you ever are working for an employer that has to do this, okay, and you VPN into their network, customer's network, and you can't get on the internet, the person before you who set up VPN set it up wrong. They did not set up split tunneling. So you can look at how to set up split tunneling after the fact. You can get rid of that VPN, redo the VPN. Okay, there's several different things you can do, right? But in order to do the split tunneling, you need to understand the customer's network of everything that's below that line. Because if it's a simple network, there's one network, like in this case. It could be 2 or 3 or 3 dozen. Who knows? Okay, and if you miss one, you're not going to get to the places that you need to get to. And conversely, the environment below the VPN, if they don't know how to get back to your address on that ASA, that DHCP pool, it won't work either. Okay, so there's a lot of moving parts when you are setting up, designing, and configuring VPNs. It's just not all about crypto. There's a significant routing and switching component to it on both ends. Hence why we go through so much routing and switching in 347. Why that class is a prereq for this one.